Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're getting into a pretty provocative book, FCK VIAGRA, The Natural Cure to Sexual Dysfunction by Sean Lysite.
Yeah, the title definitely grabs you.
It does, and Lysite's whole take is, well, it's different. He argues the real root of sexual dysfunction isn't physical, not really. It's more about societal conditioning.
Yeah.
You know, how it kind of boxes us in and stops us from being our authentic selves.
Right, so less about biology, more about psychology and society.
Exactly. So our mission today is to really unpack that argument, dig into his perspective, and look at this natural cure he talks about. The sources here offer a really specific viewpoint.
And it definitely challenges the standard medical approach.
Totally. If you've ever felt like quick fixes don't really hit the mark, or if you're just curious about that mind-body connection and well-being, this one's for you. We're going deeper than just surface stuff.
Okay, so where does he start? He goes right after the established cures, right?
Straight away. He points to this huge market, like $3.9 billion for men's sexual health drugs. Viagra, premature ejaculation stuff.
The usual suspects.
Yeah. And he basically says, look, these are just Band-Aids. They might manage symptoms, but they don't fix the underlying issue.
Makes sense. It's like treating the smoke, not the fire.
He uses this great analogy, actually. Taking cholesterol meds, but still eating, terribly. Your numbers might look better, but you haven't actually addressed the real problem.
Right. You're managing, not curing.
So he's talking to guys who are maybe frustrated, guys burned on pills, diets, visualizations, weird exercises. That's his phrase.
Okay, so who is this not for, according to him?
Well, he's pretty clear. This isn't a magic bullet. He stresses you've got to put in the work, like at least 3 months of consistent practice.
Ah, so there's a commitment involved.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And also, a really important point. This is for men who can physically get erections. If there's a fundamental physical reason someone can't, he says, yeah, medical help might be needed.
Gotcha. So it's about dysfunction despite basic physical capability.
Exactly. His focus is on the inhibition, the blockage, not a mechanical failure, so to speak.
Okay, so let's dig into that fundamental cause then. This conditioned inhibition idea.
Right. So Lysite's core idea is that fundamentally existence is about authentic, uninhibited expression, like being fully yourself.
Okay, sounds a bit philosophical.
It is, a bit. But he ties it to history. He argues that for, 95% of human history, survival depended on acting instinctively, in the moment.
Like fight or flight, immediate reactions.
Yeah, you see a threat, you react. No time for second-guessing or worrying about politeness.
That makes evolutionary sense, I guess. Quick responses were key.
Then, he says, agriculture changed things. Big shift.
Right.
Suddenly you have larger groups needing to function together.
Right. Cooperation becomes more important.
And for that to work, he argues, people couldn't just express every impulse. He literally says, a large group cannot function properly if every man is expressing himself in his fullness. Society needed ways to regulate that.
So societal structure required suppressing some individual expression. That's his argument.
That's the core of it. And he says we become essentially just meat shaped by habits. Habits form through all our interactions, parents, friends, teachers.
We learn how to behave, how to fit in.
Exactly. These reactions become habits, ingrained. And modern society, with all its expectations, basically forces us to silence that primal authentic self. This leads to conditioned inhibition.
And this starts early.
Yeah, potentially with parents, he suggests, who are probably conditioned themselves. And this inhibition, he claims, is the real engine driving sexual dysfunction. Everything else, just salt and pepper.
Wow. So physical factors are secondary, almost irrelevant in his view.
Pretty much. He sees them as minor compared to this deep-seated conditioning.
It's a powerful claim, shifting the focus so drastically from the body to the mind and societal programming.
Hugely. And it leads him to this idea that impotency itself is actually a conditioned response.
Okay, how does he explain that?
He uses analogies. Pavlov's dogs, bell rings, dogs salivate, even without food. They learn the association.
The classic conditioning example.
Right. Then he mentions another one, a guy named Hudgens. Apparently, he showed you could condition human pupil dilation using a bell and the word contract.
So even an involuntary physical response can be conditioned.
That's the implication he draws. If salivation and pupil dilation can be conditioned, why not our authentic expression, and by extension, our sexual response? We learn to hold back.
So we're essentially trained to be inhibited.
That's his word, yeah.
Yep.
Hypnotized or conditioned mentally and physically. He gives the example of a baby constantly told, don't do that. Eventually, the baby learns to suppress those impulses, those emotions. It's like you're training the response out of them.
Through negative reinforcement,
Yeah.
essentially.
Right. And he blames civilization itself, parents, school, peer pressure, even this vague idea of duty, all contributing, often unconsciously.
It sounds quite pervasive, the way he describes it.
It does. He even uses restricted breathing as an example. Like we physically hold ourselves tense without even realizing it. It's a sign of that inhibition.
That anecdote about the kid in class is quite telling, too.
Oh yeah, the 8-year-old who blurts something out enthusiastically.
And the teacher, maybe having a bad day, just shuts them down.
Exactly. And that small moment, Lyside suggests, can plant a seed of self-doubt. Makes a kid less likely to speak up next time. More inhibited.
And over time, these small instances add up.
That seems to be the idea. So he frames impotency as the body's way of showing this deep inhibition, like how someone else might get ulcers from stress.
Or other stress-related conditions. So it's a physical symptom of a psychosocial cause.
That's it. The mind-body connection is absolutely central. They're not separate. The inability to perform sexually is a symptom of not being able to be authentically yourself.
Okay, so if that's the diagnosis, what's the cure? It has to involve tackling that inhibition, right?
Precisely. The cure, he says, is becoming what he calls alpha. But not alpha in the, aggressive chest-thumping way.
How does he define alpha, then?
As authentic, uninhibited, someone living truly as themselves. It requires changing both mentally and physically because they're linked.
Right, the mind-body thing again.
Yeah, like holding back expression actually uses muscles. You tense up, your body gets knotted, he says, restricting natural flow.
Okay. Does he give specific examples of things that cause this inhibition, especially around sex?
He does. Things like societal ideas about treating women like mothers,
Yeah.
or that sex is only for making babies, myths about masturbation.
Ah, the classic repressive stuff.
Yeah, or feeling you have to repress yourself around women before marriage, religious abstinence rules, that kind of thing.
But it's broader than just sex, right?
Oh, definitely. He also points to non-sexual things, like maybe an upbringing that was too focused on perfect manners, or having parents who were unhappy, quiet, reserved, a drunk or distant father, a clingy mother, even having a sibling who was always seen as more successful, anything that squashes genuine expression.
So basically, any environment that discourages you from being fully joined, you can contribute.
That's the gist. But here's a key point he makes. Just knowing why you're inhibited isn't the cure.
Oh. So analyzing your childhood isn't the answer.
Apparently not. He says the cure happens now, in the present. It's about doing, not just understanding.
Okay, so what does doing look like? What's the actual cure?
Authentic expression. Actively embracing it, redefining that alpha idea we mentioned.
Right. Not aggression, but authenticity.
Exactly. The natural, vital, expressive self. Free, real. He even argues evolution favored that kind of being. Curing dysfunction means unleashing that alpha.
And you can't just think your way there?
Nope. Has to be felt, expressed, acted out. So his practical advice is stuff like, get in touch with your actual feelings. Forget being overly polite all the time.
Challenging some social norms there.
Definitely. Fight for what you want. Act, don't just daydream. Confront people who offend you. Speak up. Dance. Say what's really on your mind. Express all the feelings. Cry, laugh, shake, whatever.
Wow. It's quite a dynamic prescription, pushing against the very inhibition he's been talking about.
Exactly. Then he gets into specific exercises. Authenticity exercises, he calls them.
Okay, like what?
He says they're simple, tapping into a natural human instinct for expression. First one, the whispered question.
The whispered question. Intriguing.
The idea is, after any question someone asks you, or even when you ask yourself, you silently add, and how does that make you feel?
Ah, self-check-in.
Yeah. And you have to answer it honestly, just to yourself, even if it's rambling or feels awkward. The goal is to train that muscle of authentic feeling and expression in daily life.
Kind of building a habit of emotional awareness and honesty.
Right. He thinks he can create a positive feedback loop, too, because people are drawn to genuine expression.
Interesting. Okay, what's next?
Exercise 2, the primal scream.
Whoa, okay. Sounds intense.
It is. He talks about his own experience, being told he was throat-oriented, holding back his voice, his expression, caused tension, depression.
So the scream is about releasing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Releasing trapped expression. Instructions are, find a private spot, set a timer, maybe 2 minutes, and just scream, loudly, from deep down.
2 full minutes of screaming.
Yeah. Don't stop. Let any movements or emotions happen, crying, laughing, shaking, whatever.
Huh.
He says it helps release all those times you held back in the past.
What are the expected results? Feeling better.
More confident,
Hmm.
strong, free, maybe a deeper voice. Could feel exhausted afterwards, though. He suggests a pillow over the face if privacy's an issue. Daily for a week is the recommendation.
It's certainly a direct way to tackle that physical tension he mentioned. Cathartic, maybe.
Seems like it.
That.
Okay, third exercise. Do nothing.
Do nothing. After Primus Scream, that's a contrast.
Totally. Minimum 10 minutes a day. Just stop. Close your eyes. Focus on your breath. Basically, meditation or just being still.
Mindfulness.
Pretty much. It's meant to counteract that constant societal pressure to achieve. The anxiety around success, financial and sexual.
Right, the constant striving.
Yeah. This helps condition the mind not to always be striving. Just observe thoughts. Don't engage. He suggests gradually building up to an hour a day.
So balancing the active expression with stillness and observation. Makes sense.
He does mention diet and movement too, but interestingly, he says they're most important after dealing with the conditioning.
Oh, really? Not foundational.
Not the first step, in his view.
Hmm.
They help later, supporting clarity and expression. For diet, it's less what you eat, more how. Avoid gorging. He recommends fasting like one 36-hour fast weekly and 2 days monthly. Break the fast with gratitude. Gives the body a break.
Okay. And movement.
Dance. Big recommendation for dance. Things like contact improv, modern dance, for physical self-expression. Connects you to your body, which helps mental expression.
So body connection enhances mental authenticity. Consistent theme.
Exactly. So wrapping up his argument, he repeats, this isn't a quick fix, it's a process. Take practice, at least a month, using the exercises daily.
Managing expectations again.
Yeah. And he says, look, even if it doesn't completely cure the dysfunction, exploring your authentic self will lead to self-knowledge, make you more of a man, in his words, and likely improve other areas of your life too.
So benefits beyond just the bedroom.
Right. He basically frames personality as just a collection of social conditioning. The solution, corrective brainwashing, he calls it, towards high self-esteem, starting with the body.
Corrective brainwashing. Strong words.
Yeah. And he highlights body language as the crucial first step, how we carry ourselves. Says it's how humans judged each other before language, how alphas were recognized.
Yeah.
Master body language boosts self-esteem and confidence.
Okay.
And then, right at the end, there was a direct plug, a call to action to buy his crash course training on how to master the art of body language for the alpha male.
Okay. So there's a commercial element there, too. Good to know.
Definitely puts the preceding advice into a certain context. Okay, so let's recap. In this deep dive, we've looked at Sean Lysaut's argument in FCK VIAGRA. His core idea, sexual dysfunction stems from societal conditioning blocking our authentic selves.
Right. The inhibition is the key problem.
And his cure involves reclaiming that authenticity through exercises like the whispered question, the primal scream, doing nothing, focusing on emotional and physical release.
With an emphasis on active participation and commitment from the listener. And interestingly, tackling this conditioning before focusing heavily on diet or exercise.
Yeah, it's a really different way of looking at it, isn't it? Moving away from just the physical mechanics.
Absolutely. Situating it much more in the realm of psychology, society, and self-expression. And the solutions are just as unconventional, focusing on that inner work, challenging ingrained habits.
It definitely gives you food for thought. Thinking about his perspective, how much of what we think is just us, the way I am, might actually be that conditioning he talks about.
That's a big question.
And what could happen if we, really let ourselves be more authentic in all parts of life? It's kind of challenging, but maybe liberating.
It is. It pushes you to consider those subtle, powerful ways our upbringing and environment shape us, right down to our physical well-being. What's underneath all that conditioning, it's definitely something to mull over.
Absolutely. So this deep dive presented one specific, maybe controversial viewpoint. We definitely encourage you to think critically about it all. Reflect on your own experiences with expectations, self-expression.
Yeah, and maybe explore more about that mind-body link and social conditioning generally. There's a lot out there.
For sure. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.